Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this lovely Monday morning that we are having snow. Unbelievable. We were getting all the snow was leaving the ground. You could see the grass. It was like almost, well, it was 60 the other day. And bam, like that. Now we have a nice snow day. It had said 3 to 5 inches, but I don't think we're going to get that. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's get to painting. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, we know that, well, no, you don't know when you don't paint, and these are beginner friendly. So there are these exercise shapes. They're called C curves, S curves, and then you have lines, and so forth. So by taking a tree here, I'm going to grab a tree trunk and show you how that comes into play. So actually, I'm going to just half the paper here. So let's pretend we have a tree going on here. I'll make it a little bit bigger. And the tree is, this is on dry paper. And we're going to go right up out of the paper with the tree. Make it a little... When I did that, I had a flat brush on its side, and then I put it on the chisel and side and came down and made a little wider trunk. But the whole idea there was that, and we can still use the flat brush, out of a tree making the trunks and the branches, we can do C curves. We can do S curves. It comes into play in so many things. If we choose to put a branch here, a thick, you know what, I'm going to change to a different brush. Try this one. And I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Say we wanted to make a really big trunk like that, coming out of the tree. This is a cat's tongue. I just grabbed it. I may change. But see that? Now we did a C curve with an S curve. Branches are great for that. So we come down here. There's a beautiful C, beautiful S. Or we could just have like that. Branches are like this, and they're a little bit like this too. But you see the tree. The tree is definitely those. I wanted to get a brown. I grabbed a red. That's okay. We can. No, it isn't okay. Let me get a little. All right. So we're going to take this like this, right? And we're going to wiggle the tree, right? Say we take another one. Red is so pungent. Say there's another one, okay, or say we wanted to just go like this, because some branches do these things, right? Some branches just flop right over like that. So we have a really huge C curve. Wow, I had way too much on my brush there. How that happened. We're going to get a different brush. Okay, let's choose this other smaller flat. This is a size 8. And let's, all right, so that was a C. Ouch, this was an S and a C. This is like an S. This is a C here. So we can make long, C's or short ones. Or we can make, sometimes you just see really small trees. Little trees that haven't grown very far up yet, right? But all trees are rather wiggly. They're not straight sticks by any means. Some trees are very straight, but most trees have a wiggle effect. And we're talking about, now I'm going to change my brush again because I like to demonstrate this the C and the S with a round brush. Let me just take, so we're talking about these C curves. And then press down harder, point and press down harder. Those also make leaves, right? They make leaves. Okay, we make leaves like this sometimes, pretty leaves. We make leaves like this sometimes. Put a little green in there. And also S curves come into play when we're making leaves. We could go like this and wiggle the S curve to make a pretty leaf. So we have, probably helps to see it in the color of a leaf, but so we have point down, press, and come up. That was one of those exercises. Curve it, and there's the C curve. Or we can come like this, like I did down here, wiggle, and we have that kind of a leaf. Or we have, so you see how they come into, I just wanted to make this a short little exercise. It's not going to be long, but these are all the types of things that we need to be doing. We definitely need to practice, and you need to practice a lot of things before you start painting. It will just get a few things under your belt. This would be a nice long leaf. Sometimes they get those real long ones, right? That come out of somewhere. Press down and come up on your tip. That's a C curve. Now, if I wanted to do, you do this way, it can come downwards, like that. So C curves and S curves. C, harder, harder, harder. More pressure, I mean. Pressure, pressure. You start out on the tip. A good flower for this, are roses. So we'll come over here and we make little teeny ones, right? Inside at first, and then we get a little bigger. And we get a little fatter. We press down harder. All C curves. It's like every shape an object is made with some sort of line, line and shape. And then we maneuver it around. Like if you were drawing, that's, what you would be learning, and that's what you'd be doing. Taking lines and making them into shapes. So let's get some green and actually make some C curve leaves. This time I started at the top, right? A little stem, press down over to the left, down to the left, to the right and left. So do you see how that's happening? So if it's starting at the top and coming down, it's just backwards. They make such pretty leaves, right? And then we can do that with, let's get a branch. Whoops. So we have a branch here with little shoots, and we need to put little leaves on the ends of each one. Let's put a little bit of that purpley red in there with the green. Press down. If we want to make little ones, go like that. Of course, this is not a real little brush. So if I go over to there's two ways it can be done. I can go to a very small brush like this, But I also could use a big brush like this, but it has a beautiful tip. So let's go with the first one first, because you're thinking, I don't really see how you're going to be able to get that little line with that big brush. Well, sometimes you can't, depends on the brush. This one is one of those wonderful brushes, Canson. So I'm going to take the tip, come down, tip, come down, and I'm making that C curve, see? Or the little ones. These brushes are awesome. Just see how wonderful that works? And we can also do these kind here. My green is kind of dried up. Or coming down with these. Switch it over to these to a little one like this. And I'm not going to get, you know, I might have to do more strokes too. I'm not going to get as big because it's a smaller brush, so I'll have to, you know, do more strokes, whichever your preference, right? I'll start from the bottom and come up. Do it that way. And of course, stems themselves. You know, you have, well, I guess I need some color in there. Like I said, my paints are a little dry. I've been cooking soup. So we have a nice stem here. Doesn't have to be straight, but I'm just doing that. What is it? It's mostly a line, but you curve it, it becomes a C curve. Sometimes, right, for branches, they do that, which becomes an S curve. So on the end of each of those, I can make the C curve leaves, right? Big ones, small ones, little tiny ones. Start this way, backwards from what I was just doing. Come downwards. You can do the same thing. Same thing I did with this bigger brush, but of course, because this has a much bigger belly, when I press down, I'm going to get these sizes. When I press down with this small one, I'm going to get these sizes, because no matter how hard I press down, I'm surely not going to get the size of that. Look at the difference. So, you know, and these are all super duper exercises that everybody needs to do when you're, especially when you're first starting, really need to get, you know, some sort of practicing going on whenever it works for you, right? So we have very little pressure. We have S's, C's, a little more pressure. S's, C's, a little more pressure, right? The more pressure, the thicker, can't see that very well, the thicker the line, thin, thicker, pressing harder, getting the whole belly. So you see how that works? I started by if I just went without putting the tip down, it's just going to look like this, just a line. But by putting the tip down first, it kind of gives you more of a natural type of look to whatever, you know, thing you're doing. And again, you know, S's, C, the lighter, the lighter, the lighter. It's all in practicing with your hands and fingers and the muscle memory it creates in your head and in your hand helps you to do all these things just sort of automatically. You won't have to think about it very much at all once you do some, really good, and keep doing it. I mean, we all practice quite a lot. And always remember to wash your brushes off because the paint gets down in there. So if you don't give them, some really good washes each time, you might come and find out you still have some paint in there. Also, I do this to keep the points nice. The flat ones, same idea. So that, my friends, is the practicing of lines, C curves, S curves, and putting them into action. Trunks of trees, branches of trees, leaves, little stems. See, it just all comes into play. That's what makes it fun. And then when you start seeing yourself do, all of a sudden you're going to be painting and you're going, oh yeah, that's an S curve, or oh yeah, that's a C curve, or that's that line, or this line. So anyway, it really helps, and it makes it more fun, and you really learn what you need to learn as you go along, and takes the stress out of it too. Because watercolor painting is so magical and wonderful. To think that it would become stressful, just to me, would take all the absolute magical fun out of it. At first, yes, you will have a little bit of stress just trying to, kind of understand everything. That's why I always say to people, take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? And all those wonderful phrases. But I mean, that's just putting pressure on you to learn something that is basically something fun anyway. So why do that to yourself? Just take your time. Just make that. Just make that. Just make the C things. You don't have to practice with all this. It's just one or two things. So, the less stressful, the better. It's supposed to be a stress-free type of medium in art, and it is once you get that happening and realize that it's so beautiful. So try it out, folks. Slow it down, speed it up, zoom in, zoom out, whatever you have to do. Watch it again and again and again until I can't tell you how many times I watched videos or watched a technique over and over and over and over, and then practiced it, applied it, practiced it till I got it. And that's what it's all about. And I know that you can do it. Anybody can do this. It's just, setting the mind to applying it to the paper. So check it out. Check out the other tutorials that I have. They're all helpful. They all have techniques. It's the way I paint. But there are specific techniques as well, like, for instance, the C and the S curves, and lots of other things in my other tutorials. And have a most wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.